Hello, my love. I heard a kiss from you.
You're in the gray zone. I'm yakking at you from the Carl Kozlowski Crow's Nest here high atop the HMS Bounty here in Koreatown, USA. Carl Kaz is here today along with Dr. David Robinson, who's not really a doctor.
No, I am.
Well, what's up with your dubious credentials, sir?
It is an honorary doctorate purchased from the Universal Life Church. But legally, I can call myself doctor.
Indeed. I won't be asking you for any help with my prostate anytime soon, sir.
I do appreciate that.
All right. This is listener-supported crime podcasting, so if you like what you hear, tip the monkey on the way out. MarkEbner59@gmail.com. That's your PayPal avenue. Venmo, the same. Or join our newest executive producer, Leonardo Medina, as a show subscriber on Patreon. www.patreon.com/Mark Ebner. Break me off a piece of lettuce, would you? It all goes back into the show. If you listened in last season, you'd know that we managed to break some news on the tragic last days of Stan Lee. Stan Lee right here in the gray zone. I needed a career change in a bad way. I co-authored a book that became a New York Times bestseller, an arch polemic called Hollywood Interrupted with Andrew Breitbart, swing guy on the Drudge Report at the time. That book, it bit hard at the hand that fed me. I figured if I burned all my sources, it might finally force me to leave the rat's nest. Christ, when I think about it, I've been trying to write my way out of Hollywood forever, and I'm sitting here. Yeah, 6 months later, I was literally living in my van next to a park in Santa Monica. It was the Ozone Park. I even remember that park with my two pit bulls, Roxy and Poor Boy. Apparently, a bestseller and a quarter will get you a cup of coffee in this town, except you better make it a soy latte and $5.75. Let me tell you something about book publishing. While I can probably dine out on my New York Times best-selling author status for the rest of my days on Earth, the reality is that on a slow news week, all you really need to do is move 5,000 hardcovers and you're good to go in joining the ranks of your erstwhile literary heroes on that vaunted New York Times bestseller list. Now do math. John Wiley & Sons, our Hollywood Interrupted publisher, they paid us a $75K advance for that book. And yet, wait for it, that book came out in 2004, and I have not seen a single royalty check to this day, not one. So, I was down, but not out. Because out of the blue, I got a message from someone at American Media, publisher of The Globe, The Star, and their crown jewel, The National Enquirer, the holy trinity of tabloid journalism. I should add that the same company also published the batshit Batboy Weekly World News and something called The Sun. Anyway, an old-school tabloid reporter had given them my name. He said, his name was Mike South. He said, Ebner, you should come join us. See the world, my friend. And they wanted me to come to their offices in Boca Raton, Florida, and interview for a job.
That's Spanish for the rat's mouth.
Thank you. You stole my line there.
Shit,
no, that's cool, Dr. Robinson.
We can cut this
all
out.
Good. Glad to see you're with it here. A plane ticket to Boca Raton was on its way. Boca Raton. How does a town so tropical sounding, so alluring, translate to Dr. Dave? Rat's
rat's
mouth.
mouth.
It's Trump country. Figure it out. Rat's mouth. Not only is it Trump country, but it's disingenuous Trump country. I can't tell you how many people I know down there in various positions in politics, in the law, in law enforcement, and that sort of thing, who are all hard right Republicans who register as Democrats in Palm Beach County. You see what I'm saying? So, rat's mouth. Well, if it's not apparent to the layman, there is no lower job in journalism than working for the tabloids. They pay for stories. They use each other as sources. They employ a situational ethics of the most robust variety. Subjects are excused for reprehensible behavior one day because of some cooked up synergy with the Home Office, and then persecuted the next out of sport or spite. Stupidity is pandered to. Stereotypes are reinforced with a vengeance. And every story features a moral to be found in that lacuna at the perfect nexus where our lowest common denominator intersects with the lesser angels of our nature. Sound familiar? Trump country. Old retired Inquirer readers yearning for an America that was never really all that great to begin with. The tabloids are where you book transit when you're not planning on coming back. After checking into the deluxe extended stay hotel in AMI's, that's American Media's football field size office park, and picking up my rental car, which I would never use, I walked across a central plaza to the pumping heart of the scandal universe. Everything was flamingos, palm trees, and aggressive pastels. It looked like the opening credits of Miami Vice. Escorted through a sprawling newsroom big enough to bring down a standing president, I was deposited outside the office of Editor-in-Chief David Perell, visible to me through a glass partition. The waiting area literature consisted of, well, the latest Inquirer, which I discovered you can read start to finish in approximately 15 minutes, and the contents of which made my teeth hurt. I turned to the crossword puzzle. Now, think for a moment what kind of crossword might be published in the National Enquirer. When he rapped on the glass, and he waved me in. Okay, I swear to God, I've never read an Enquirer cover to cover before, not even as a goof. And here I was, about to interview for a staff job at that very Oracle. Ebner! That's Editor-in-Chief David Perell. He greeted me like we were old friends, or more probably, like he sees us in some common pathology. I read all your clips. Good stuff. By the way, you finished that crossword puzzle yet? Yeah, I said. Then you're hired. And before I had time to second guess, I was on a plane back to L.A. It was now January 2004. For the first time in my adult life, I was making a 5-figure annual salary I wouldn't be embarrassed to see published in a daily newspaper. I had a health plan, a dental plan, an expense account, and a generous travel allowance. I had a corner desk in Santa Monica, 6 blocks from the ocean. Wow. In one strange turn of fate, I was suddenly an adult, a tax-paying citizen, and a re-enfranchised member of society. Because what they did produced rich bouquets and overflowing fountains of money. So much money that it even trickled down to people like me. American media's combined circulation was 5.4 million. The New York Times, by contrast, was barely over 1 million. I felt like part of an elite military machine, and all I had to do to be part of it was to kill someone with my bare hands. On a typical day, I'd get into the office at about 8:30. First thing I'd do is register the verbal memos about who had been granted immunity. We're not touching Sylvester Stallone. We're going to do a magazine with him. He doesn't get any coverage. Or Schwarzenegger gets a pass. And now that he's pals with American media publisher David Pecker, in other words, just because they were friends, it was all very pleasant, wasn't it? Stallone, say my name, work the shaft, cradle the balls. Remember that when he was hot mic'd in his trailer on some movie set?
No.
I remember reading about it, but...
Yeah, say my name, cradle the balls, work the shaft.
Who's he talking to?
He's the woman that was in the trailer going down on him.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, Stallone, he had his own magazine. It was called Sly.
I remember that. It lasted like 2 issues. It was horrible.
You would remember that.
Yes,
Carl
I would.
Kozlowski.
As a magazine junkie, Ebner. That's how I became a fan of yours and good magazines.
There we go.
Yes.
Schwarzenegger was branded into a couple of lame men's fitness style magazines there. Maybe a bodybuilding mag, I don't know. But I can assure you that if Arnold had knocked up his maid back then, you'd have never heard about it from the Inquirer.
Huh.
And I should also point out that towards the end of that lost year at the tabloids, the Inquirer was in clandestine talks with Bill Cosby about spiking a very credible rape allegation story on the Jell-O Man in exchange for him thanking the National Enquirer for the assist they gave in helping him find the murderer of his son, Ennis Cosby.
Wow.
David Pecker, CEO of AMI, making a conscious decision to cover for an accused serial rapist who he had the goods on. This accuser that they had interviewed had passed a lie detector test. Wow. She wasn't lying. How do I know that? Because I interviewed her later for my story about Jell-O Man, about Bill Cosby, that nobody wanted to pick up. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to libel Mr. Cosby. I heard that from the wire services. I heard that from every media outlet I went to try and get some traction on my story that is now up on the Daily Beast called I Warned You About Bill Cosby in 2004. Oh, well. Are you seeing the bigger picture here about how it makes perfect sense that David Pecker picked a puerile president to put inside his pocket? And Trump thinks it's the other way around? Yeah, right. Watch for more stories surfacing about the tabloids. Watch for stories about their catch and kill operations. Well, this was Bauer Media, I guess, is in touch. But, the Stormy Daniels, let's pay for her silence. AMI had been doing that for years. A hard rain on the tabloids is going to fall. I promise you that. Anyway, with that clown Dylan Howard as editor-in-chief, they're eating themselves over there anyway. It won't be long.